Activity is very important for dementia residents who are either angry or anxious, but especially so if they're depressed. Activity really helps in terms of getting the muscles moving and the mind moving and endorphins going, especially if the walk can be outside, the activity can be outside with the fresh air and the sunshine and the birds and the lovely audio-visual panorama and the warmth of the sunshine itself and the vitamin D and everything that an outside experience gives is really important to be able to lift the depression and lift the mood of someone with dementia when they're feeling down and flat. And even if you don't say too much, just your presence, your kindness, your compassion, the time that you're giving, being with that person can often be enough. That lovely, warm, positive energy, loving, caring energy can be enough to lift that person's spirits out of the dementia state. So just to give you some examples of people that I've worked with in terms of helping depressed husbands in particular, being the theme of this video, there was one lady, wife, and her husband was very depressed. He came into the unit, she was stressed and he was depressed. Not a good combination, but she was caring, loyal and loving, and he adored her. But it was a very, very stressful initially because he couldn't bear to part with her. And whenever she left, all week, he'd just call out for her, and he wasn't managing at all. He was on the brink of total breakdown. She persevered, even though she found it very stressful coming to the unit. She persevered, she kept coming. It was really difficult for her because she'd never been in a hospital or dementia unit facility before, hardly even a hospital. So she wasn't used to the environment and it was disorientating for her. She was quite young and she's very sporty and worked at outdoor jobs. So this was all completely alien. She kept going. She said, look, whatever will work best for my husband, then that is what I'm going to do. So she was really committed with that, which was a help. But it was hard to find activities for him to be involved in. He was really depressed, really flat, nothing appealed. He wasn't interested in anything except seeing her, full stop. Anyway, she used to take him out for regular walks. That was always a highlight. He did come back a little better after that, but he'd fall flat after she had left and nothing would pick him up. So she tried everything, all activities, nothing really worked until she did hit on something. And it was classic cars. He'd always loved big, flash, classic cars, and he'd had many of them. He'd had a high roller, big life, plenty of money, successful businesses, lots of cars, lots of, overseas trips, Europe, etc. He actually spent a lot of time at sea. He was a sailor and he used to work on ships for most of his career. And he had a very big yacht. And what she came up with, classic cars and yachts, they was his two things. So with the classic cars and yachts, what she did was she got coffee table books on classic cars and yachts and jigsaw puzzles on classic cars and yachts. Now that made all the difference. Really it did. Because he could sit down and for the first time, for a long time, I don't know, it could have been years or certainly months, he could sit down and focus and concentrate, especially on the jigsaw puzzles. And that enabled him to slow down his speeding dementia thinking, his speeding dementia stress. He could slow down his thoughts, focus, redirect, and concentrate. And it was then that he got the relief. It was from that point he started to get the relief and the depression started to lift with those jigsaw puzzles. It was remarkable. You could just see his features, his expression, his persona, his shoulders dropped. He was a much happier man. And because of that, of course, her stress reduced as well. She was so relieved that he could get some relief from his, ongoing depression. Then the coffee table books helped as well, not as much as the jigsaw puzzles, but the coffee table books on the classic cars helped in the sense that they were a social point for other men to engage in looking at these various books she'd brought in as well. And she was very social. She used to bring in the coffee and the muffins and had like a men's shed type group at the kitchen table when she came in. And he started to make friends with other people because of her sociability, generosity, with the books, the cakes, the muffins. She was very social. She wouldn't just sit in his room and be with him alone, which many relatives do. She would always socialize with him in public, and he liked that too. I mean, even though he found it difficult to make friends initially because he was aphasic and his speech was confused, but once he started relaxing, once his spirit started to lift, his speech improved, his clarity improved, especially after he'd been focusing and concentrating on the jigsaw puzzles. You could really see the difference in his speech, not just a few words either. It was like a full-on conversations and clear as day. He loved building cars and engines, and he always used to say, I can build my thinking back. I'm sure I can. I'm building on it. I'm working on it. And he did build his thinking back, and he built back his communication, and ultimately became a leader of the group and a very effective spokesman for the group. So he was a remarkable example of how he was so depressed and progressed. Also what she did, the wife, was she brought in his favourite leather lazy boy chair from home. Huge, great thing, which fabulous, because he was a big, tall, strong, broad-shouldered man. So this great big chair filled up half the room. And she blew up a great big picture of him standing proudly, steering his yacht, manning the yacht with the sea and the yacht, and she was by his side. It was a lovely photo, and he just looked so accomplished and happy. And he'd sit there in his chair looking at this picture and the yacht and the sea, and you could just see his thoughts and his memories would just take him away, and he got great relief from that. So it really needs to be creative. When someone's depressed, they're not standard prescriptions for every person. It's very different for every person. How you treat depression, how you help a person with depression in a dementia unit, and it often takes creative ways of thinking, as with this man, bringing in the lazy boy chair, having the photo of him at sea, which he could look and reminisce with, bringing in the jigsaw puzzles of the classic cars, the classic coffee table books, all helped to be able to lift his depression and be able to function, which is really the whole point of it. I mean, a person still is living. They have to be able to function in a dementia unit to have any quality of life. They need to be able to communicate and to have, things of interest, activities of interest for them to take up the time of day. It's a huge day, often getting up 7 o'clock till 7, 8 at night. They've got all those hours to fill. And unless they've got activities to occupy themselves, it's a very barren, boring existence. So it does take a bit of work, but it, with supportive, creative partners, friends and family, then all of this goes a long way to dementia residents having a chance to make it in a dementia unit in terms of being able to live their life and live a quality of life from the point that they enter into a dementia facility. It can be often 3, 4, 5 years in one facility. So they need to be able to be given every best chance of being able to think and concentrate and make friends and have activities and have some quality of life, enjoyment in life, which we all need, don't we, to be able to survive and thrive. So the 2 books I've written, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, from Amazon. You can get these books from Amazon. And in the description below, Pieta Valentine, www.pietavalentine.com. You can get the books there. So thank you for your correspondence and your comments, and please subscribe if you're interested in this channel and finding it of value and pass on the links to others. I'd really appreciate it to get things up and running. Thank you.